I don't think I ever saw Jaws as a kid. I didn't need the threat of great whites to be scared of the water or what was in it. Plenty of other shark fear-mongering media did that just fine. As scared as I was, and as scared as many people are about getting a good chompin from our cartilaginous brethren of the deep, it doesn't happen nearly enough for us to keep up the charade that it will. Something that couldn't be said for some poor SOB living in prehistoric Japan. A recent study has reanalyzed the bones of a dude that suggests Jaws already happened, just 3,000 years before print. Talk about a cold case. Welcome to Shark Week, probably one of the most harmful weeks of programming for wildlife conservation imaginable. Contrary to whatever drivel Discovery Channel will plop into their show fryer for this year's propaganda campaign, sharks are extremely important to our world's survival, declining at a rapid and alarming rate, and rarely attack people. There's literally no reason to be paranoid about getting attacked by going into the water. They don't specifically target people out of malice. Most often, it's by accident. That being said, when they do attack, the wounds they can inflict on us hairless apes can be substantial. When discussing sharks, their conservation, and their impact on humans, you cannot ignore the gory details surrounding shark attacks. I won't be glorifying it, but I think it is justified to at least talk about it in a respectful way. For as much as I've gone on about how rare shark attacks are, they do happen. Not only do they happen, but they have happened basically for as long as our species has decided to take a trip to the beach. A rarity among rarities was recently redescribed from human remains found in Japan. The Tsukumo Shell Mound archaeological site was uncovered by construction workers in 1860 in the Okayama prefecture of Japan. This site represents what was once a cemetery in use at least 3,000 years ago. This covers what archaeologists and anthropologists have coined the Jomon period. This period of Japanese prehistory is traditionally dated from 14,000 to 300 years ago. At the time, Japan was populated mostly by diverse hunter-gatherer and early agriculturalist societies. The period is marked by some of the earliest known pottery productions in the world and had a strong fisher-hunter-gatherer economy. The shell mound itself is located about 3 kilometers, 1.8 miles from the Seto Inland Sea. The first investigations and excavations of the site were conducted in 1915, and since then, over 170 human remains have been uncovered. One of the individuals buried at the site, designated Tsukumu number 24 and interpreted as a young male, preserves hundreds of deep, sharp, incised linear marks all over his skeleton. Despite this guy's skeleton being excavated half a century or more ago, no one had come up with a comprehensive explanation as to why he had these cuts, marks, crushes, and breaks throughout his bones. Number 24 skeleton was reanalyzed as part of a bigger project on violence in prehistoric Japan by Alyssa White and friends. At first, they were pretty befuddled as to the cause of the trauma, mostly due to the shape, depth, and distribution of the lesions. How or why would another human do this, whether through violence in life or post-mortem processing? The shape of the marks is inconsistent with the stone tools used at the time of his burial, so humans couldn't have been the culprit. Animals around at the time didn't seem to match the marks either. Terrestrial ones, anyways. After going through the books, the team were able to find similarities between the marks in number 24's skeleton and those reported in shark attack injuries, both modern and ancient. Injuries inflicted by sharks are categorized by cutting, crushing, and tearing. They are most often seen in the upper and lower extremities of the body, since sharks want to go for the meatiest parts, and the victim wants to defend those parts. Another common area of attack is the torso, which can result in crushing or fracturing of the ribs. The list of common injuries left on the bones after a shark attack consist of punctures, blunt force fractures from the shark's jaw strength, striations, overlapping striations, and incised gouges. These common injuries line up pretty perfectly with those scattered through number 24's skeleton. They just found their culprit, a shark. What kind of shark, how the hell did the marks get all over his skeleton, and the story of his death were what was next on the docket. To get more information, the team CT scanned the guy's bones and built a 3D model of his skeleton so they could more easily visualize and map his numerous injuries. Just about all of his ribs had been chewed on and fractured, with evidence of an eviscerated chest cavity and abdomen. His wounds were concentrated around the left hip and leg. Number 24's skeleton is missing the right leg, left foot, and left hand. It's highly likely he lost his hand during the attack as he braced to defend himself against the shark attacking his now missing leg. The team thinks the man died from getting his leg ripped off. Since the entire thing is missing, it's highly likely the shark pulled it out of its socket. This would be the major cause of death as he died of shock and blood loss. His missing hand is therefore consistent with this kind of attack, as it was probably bitten off as he tried to get the shark off his right leg. The rest of the injuries to the skeleton can be explained only by the shark continuing to feed on the guy after he'd expired. Since sharks have no way to manipulate their food, they have to swim around and go back after each major bite. This explains why the lesions across the skeleton weren't deeper or didn't sever more parts of the skeleton. The shark was gnawing and slicing off as much as it could. The best explanation as to why the skeleton was mostly intact is that other people saw the incident and came to get the guy back to land. Bodies in marine environments go through predictable steps as they decay. Flesh decays, bodies bloat, and parts start falling apart. Number 24's skeleton was still articulated, so someone had to have recovered his body shortly after the attack. Who did the attack? Tiger sharks and white sharks have been found in Jomon-aged sites in Japan. These sharks remain in Japanese waters to this day, so it is safe to assume these were the types of sharks that may have been responsible for the attack 3,000 years ago. The Seto Inland Sea, which was and still is nearby, has had temperatures of around 70 degrees Fahrenheit, 22 degrees Celsius since the time of number 24 to today. Now, white sharks are warm-blooded, high-metabolism, cold-water predators, while tiger sharks are cold-blooded and prefer warmer waters. This makes the inland sea a perfect habitat for tiger sharks, but that doesn't mean whites couldn't get in there either. The cuts on the skeleton aren't large enough or characteristic enough to get a good idea as to the type of teeth or jaws that made them, which makes it impossible to pinpoint the exact shark species responsible beyond tiger or white sharks. The authors write that the attack on Tsukumu number 24 highlights the risks of marine fishing and shellfish diving, or perhaps the risks of opportunistic hunting of sharks drawn to blood while fishing. Humans have had a long, shared history with sharks, and this is one of the relatively rare instances when humans were on their menu and not the reverse. Make sure you leave a like and comment on this video, share it around, and subscribe. While you're at it, ring the notification bell too if you want to stay in the know with everything Edge. Thanks for watching. Want to help Edge out? Subscribe to the Patreon at any tier you like for a whole smorgasbord of delicious offerings. Many thanks to Thea Svensson, Steve Bradshaw, Staniforth Hopkins, Nattycat, Dinosaur, Arda Bayer, Abby Smith, Henry Brennan, Dana Manchester, Chris Frampton, and Andrew. You've all helped to make this channel possible. Thank you, thank you, thank you.